So you're probably used to your data sitting nicely in a structured database, right? But what happens when it's not? What do you do when your data is just a bunch of files, maybe scattered all over the place? How do you even start processing that at scale?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Your data's not in a neat little database, so where do you even begin? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the playbook for loading and saving data when you're working with files and file systems in a distributed world.
Okay, so first things first. To answer that, we have to start with the most basic question of all. Where does your data actually live? Let's take a look at the common storage layers you're going to run into. When you boil it down, you're looking at three main options. First up is the local file system. This is perfect when you're just developing on your own machine, but, and this is a big but, for it to work in a cluster, every single node has to be able to see that file at the exact same path. Next, you've got Amazon S3, which is pretty much the standard for cloud-based data. It's incredibly scalable, and it's the perfect choice if your compute cluster is also running in AWS. And finally, there's HDFS, the Hadoop Distributed File System. Its superpower is something called data locality, which is all about putting your data and your compute on the same machines to cut down on network chatter.
So when your data is on a local file system, you'll use this file / prefix to point to it. Now, the absolutely critical thing to remember here, and I really can't stress this enough, is that file path has to be identical on every single node in your cluster. If it's not, the system just won't find the data. Simple as that.
Okay, let's head to the cloud. Same idea, different prefix. For data sitting in Amazon S3, the prefix is S3N/. You'll see this all the time with data lakes. And here's a little pro tip for you. For the best possible performance, you really want your compute cluster, like your EC2 instances, to be in the same geographic region as your S3 bucket. It makes a huge difference.
And for HDFS, you guessed it, you use the HDFS/ prefix. This little prefix is actually a huge deal because it signals that core advantage of HDFS. When your processing framework sees this path, it knows it can work with HDFS to schedule to work on the very same nodes where the data blocks are already stored. That's that data locality magic we were talking about, and trust me, it's a massive performance win.
So knowing where the data is located is step one. Step two is figuring out what it actually looks like. What's its format? And this can be anything from simple plain text all the way to highly structured binary files.
You've got a whole spectrum of formats to consider. You start with the basics like text files, where usually each line is its own record. Then you move up to semi-structured formats like JSON and CSV, which are still human-readable. Then you get into the more serious, machine-optimized formats like sequence files, which are great for binary key value data, and object files, which are super useful for saving data from one job so another one can use it later.
Let's zoom in on sequence files for a minute, because if you're in the Hadoop ecosystem, you are definitely going to see these. At their core, they're just flat files with key/value pairs. But what makes them so clever is that they have these things called sync markers built right in. These markers act like signposts, allowing a distributed system to jump into the middle of a massive file and quickly figure out where the next record begins. It's what makes them so incredibly efficient for parallel processing.
This all leads to a classic trade-off. On one hand, you have your human-readable formats like text, JSON, and CSV. They are fantastic for debugging because you can just open one up and see what's going on. The downside? They're usually slower for a computer to parse and can take up more space. On the other hand, you have machine-optimized formats like sequence files. They are way faster to process and much more space efficient. But good luck trying to make sense of them with a simple text editor.
Okay, so we know where our data is, and we know what it looks like. The final question is all about the how. How do we actually read it into our application efficiently?
And right off the bat, I have some fantastic news for you. If your files are compressed, let's say with gzip or LZO, you don't have to do a thing. Seriously, the framework is smart enough to look at the file extension, realize it's compressed, and handle all the decompression for you automatically. It's one of those amazing "it just works" features that you'll be thankful for. Now, when it comes to loading text data, you have two main tools. The one you're going to use 99% of the time is the standard load, text file. It does exactly what you think. It reads a directory and treats each line as a separate record. Perfect for log files. But every once in a while, you need a different approach. Whole text files, which treats each entire file as a single record.
And that probably makes you wonder, right? Why on earth would you ever need to read an entire file into memory as one single record? When is that actually useful? Well, you pull out whole text files when you're in a tricky situation where a single logical record in your data actually spans multiple lines. Think about a complex CSV file where one of the fields has a new line character inside it. Or maybe you have custom log files where a single event is written out across several lines. In those cases, text file would totally break your records, but whole text files keeps them perfectly intact so you can parse them correctly.
All right, let's pull all of this together. We're going to create a simple, actionable playbook that you can use on your next project.
Here's the key takeaway, your 4-step mental checklist. Anytime you're loading data, just ask yourself these 4 questions. 1. Where is it living? Local, S3, HDFS? 2. What does it look like? Is it text, JSON, something else? 3. Is it compressed? If so, great, this system handles it. And finally, 4. How do I need to read it? Line by line, or the entire file at once?
And this brings us to a final thought. Now that you know all the options for getting data into your system, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Is your current data pipeline actually built on the right foundation? Are you using the most efficient storage and the best formats for your particular needs?
Something to consider. Hey, if you found this explainer helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for watching.